Welcome back to Living Local, and thank you so much for watching the show today. So the pandemic impacted so many parts of our lives, including the way that we celebrate love and marriage. And today we are talking with QC Wedme about some of the trends that came out of that time that actually might be here to stay. And so here with us today is the creator of QC Wedme, Sarah DeMoranville. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to talk about all of these trends.
Absolutely.
So let's go ahead and dive straight into this. Would you say that the wedding industry had to get pretty creative in order to stay afloat during something like a pandemic?
Oh, absolutely. Our wedding vendors rely heavily on weddings as one of their main sources of income. So they had to kind of analyze their products and their skills and their services to find something that was useful and desirable during the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that there were countless reschedules or cancels and so many things that they had to be adaptable for during this time.
Oh, yes. The rescheduling has been crazy, and it's made 2020 insanely busy.
Oh, I can only imagine. And I understand that quite a few unique ways to celebrate weddings actually came out of this time. Let's start with talking about micro weddings. And I had never heard this term before, but sequel weddings.
Yes, so micro weddings kind of evolved from the desire for couples to have their wedding during the pandemic, so they had to operate within the restrictions of COVID. And the sequel wedding transitioned us to the second half of their wedding. So they always want that reception and that big party. So that sequel wedding's happening later, sometimes a year later, where they get to have the reception. There's sometimes some vow renewals, various things, but that's a sequel wedding is the two-part, the ceremony and then the reception later.
Oh, okay, that makes total sense. And yes, I'm sure people still wanted to, I know some people really just wanted to honor the original date that they had set for getting married, and then obviously they want to still celebrate with all of their friends and family, and it's a bit safer to do that now.
Absolutely.
Yes, and so next trend that we want to cover is talking about alternative ceremonies, so really streaming some of your ceremonies, and I'm thinking that maybe this might be one that's going to stick around. Would you agree?
Oh, all signs point to yes. It's a really unique way to involve the people who can't be there, and it's so easy to set up a tripod and a cell phone and stream it for free. And it's also makes it a lot easier on the budget sometimes because you have a lower head count that's participating. So it's an option that I think will be here for the long haul.
Mm-hmm. And really accommodates those that might not be able to even travel for that big day. And I also understand that outdoor venues and weddings on days that aren't Saturdays, both of those things kind of gain traction as well.
Mm-hmm. As we emerged from the pandemic, the outdoor venues was a location where people felt comfortable and it minimized their risk. So we've had a lot of bookings and attention there. And Saturday weddings developed out of necessity because approximately 2,000 weddings didn't happen in the Quad Cities last year, and those weddings had to happen eventually. So vendors already had a lot of their Saturdays booked for 2022, and most vendors only do one wedding a day. So that out of necessity, they had to include Friday or Sunday weddings to make it happen.
I can't believe 2,000 weddings. That's so many weddings. Oh my goodness. Yes, and so I can totally understand where Saturdays then were in high demand, so you kind of just have to be flexible and adaptable in that way.
Absolutely.
Now, when it comes to vendors, I know we've touched on vendors and how difficult this time has been. Do you feel like vendors are finally making a comeback and coming out of a really dark time that we had during the pandemic?
Yeah, they're definitely making a comeback. Some people, some vendors that I've talked to said they're busier than ever because at no point have they had to cram all of these weddings into such a short time. But they've had a year to revamp their business structures, some of them, their workflows, their social media, and their websites. So they're ready to come back stronger than ever. And we're off to a good start here so far in 2021.
Well, that is really good to hear. And I understand you're also a vendor too, outside of running QC Wedme.
Yes, I'm also a wedding photographer.
And how has it been for you personally?
It has been interesting. The reschedules still are happening. I still had a couple 2021s rescheduled to 2022. So that wasn't really expected, but I'm just rolling with it and hoping we can get them in eventually.
And keeping it moving. Well, that's really all that you can do. Now, before we go, I just want to make sure that you get a chance to share all things QC WEDME. So tell me about the blog that you have created, and I understand it's a lot more than just a blog, so tell us all about QC WEDME.
It is. It's a Quad Cities-based wedding vendor directory and blog, and we also have a print magazine that's distributed at more than 150 vendor locations in the Quad Cities. And we operate a traveling bridal show that will be taking place in November of this year, where our participants will hop on party buses and travel around to area venues. That'll be super fun. And I lost it.
That's okay. You shared a whole lot there. And I will also be sure to send people over to your website so then they can learn even more about all that you have to offer.
That's where I was going with that. The website, QCWedme.com, and Facebook and Instagram at QCWedme.
Okay, fantastic. Sarah, thank you so much once again for sharing all of these trends and different things that have come out of a difficult time. And I'm so happy to hear that we are on the upswing now. This is very good news.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. And so if you want to learn some more, like we just said, you can go to QCWedme.com, and we'll also have those details posted over on our website at ourquadcities.com.